Hello and welcome back to the vlog, welcome back to Cornwall, welcome back to the back roads, because we are trying to get to Penzance to pick up a pizza, or at least buy a pizza. I can make it myself, I can absolutely make pizza myself, and usually I do, but it takes a while, especially in the old bread maker, and I thought, well, rather than wait for all of that to rise and stuff, I could just go for a nice drive. Unfortunately, there is a lot of tourist traffic around, which is the downside of living in Cornwall. However, things are beginning to get back to normal. Work is beginning to pick up, and we're allowed out. So I've got my mask, I've got my Doctor Strange mask, which Mum made me, which is absolutely brilliant. So we're gonna go and do some normal people stuff. Speaking of normal people stuff, one of the things that's happened during the lockdown, one of the things that I found was that I was having a lot of trouble sleeping. Bang bang, as we go over a drain cover, I was finding a lot of trouble sleeping. And your brain, when you're in bed, you're tired, you want to just sack out, you want to drift off to the land of Nod. And unfortunately, your brain works on just useless things, TV shows or stuff you said in the past which was completely ridiculous, or my least favorite one, school. Now, I really liked school when I was a wee nipper. Like a little Cockney geezer. No, it wasn't Cockney, that was James. James from wisp_Cosmic Garthby on Twitch. So James is a Cockney geezer. I came from a place called Oxfordshire, and you can probably tell because I have an Oxford English accent, and it is a very Oxfordy accent. Good, glad we could get that out of the way, but it is important. Because we went to school in the local town, and in school, primary school, I had a teacher called Mrs. Logan, and she was the best teacher in the world. I will fight anyone on any mountain who says otherwise. And I was there for 2 years because there were 6 of us in our class. There was me, there was Luke Tobias, there was Chloe, Alexandra and Anna, and we were all kept back a year because all of us had gone to school when we were 4 years old, because our birthdays were in September, and rather than wait a year for our birthdays to tick over, we just turned up at the age of 4 and started school. So we were kept in primary school in Mrs. Logan's class for an extra year, and it was sad to see all our friends go, but honestly, she was the best teacher in the world, so it wasn't so much of a hardship. Secondary school in Oxfordshire wasn't too bad. It was a big school. There was probably 1,200 or 1,500 people there. It was good, you know. Played Warhammer with my friends, and life was good. I was going to, had we stayed, done sixth form in the same school, because the school had a sixth form college kind of built into it, and then probably gone on to do graphic design in the college in town. However, there's a couple of twists in this tale. The first one is we moved to Cornwall, which is beautiful. It is a beautiful place, and I do enjoy living here. I didn't when I was a school child though, because 2 things happened. First of all, I was bullied. For the first time in my life, I was bullied, and I had no idea how to deal with that. I turned up in a class, and people would just deliberately sit behind you and kick the ever-loving ass out of your chair. And it was, break and lunchtime, beep, beep, beep. Break and lunchtime were not that much more fun either, because, well, those kids who were kicking the crap out of your chair in class, they would find you. So I just hid. I hid in the library and read things like National Geographic and Focus magazine, which gave me a love of photography, which is kind of cool and sad at the same time. You're hiding from bullies on one hand, on the other hand you're developing a love for photography, which has actually gone on to become a job, ironically. And I did ask one of the bullies after school, because I ended up, I'm going to turn that off, I ended up working with one of them while I was in college, stacking shelves in a supermarket, and I said, why did you do it? And they said, we don't know, it was just something to do, we're kind of sorry. I was like, oh, that sucks, but okay. You can't be mad at them when you're all grown up, and they're probably They've probably got kids and everything now. But at the time, yeah, that was not a fun time. The other thing was that the school that I ended up at, we ended up there in my beginning of my GCSE years, so the General School Certification of Education. And one of the big problems with that was that my sensors are going to go off again. Nope, don't want them to go off. It's a narrow road and parking sensors keep going off, like to tell me we're about to collide with this stuff here. It's not greenery. There's granite in there, so we don't want to hit that at all. So yeah, the school that we ended up at actually had a flipped syllabus. So for example, geography, we did Oxbow Lakes in Oxfordshire. We did them to begin with straight away because nobody needs to know anything about Oxbow Lakes. It's part of the syllabus. It's kind of a joke. And yeah, so we'd already done that. We would have covered volcanoes had I stayed in Oxfordshire, but in Cornwall, no, did it twice. Oxbow Lakes once, then Oxbow Lakes twice, never covered volcanoes. And that was kind of similar for a lot of my subjects. I didn't figure that out until I got to college and worked out that actually I only had half of the education that I needed to be doing A-levels. The other thing, or the other thing was they had no idea what my aptitude was. So I turned up in English class on the first day of school in Cornwall, and it was the remedial group. And I said, I'm sorry, but I don't think I should be here. I should be in top set English. And the English teacher said, oh, get out. Oh, all right. Okay, that was weird. So I left. I turned up in top set English, and the English teacher there was like, what are you doing here? And she went off and she had a discussion with the head of English, came back and was like, well, just take a seat then. So I took a seat next to a girl who I would sit next to for the next 2 years. And she was great. It was one of the few classes where I wasn't being bullied and I could kind of talk to someone. And it sounds terrible because I mean, I didn't really talk to anyone else in the school. Turns out that she was from upcountry. She was actually from a similar place to where my grandmother had lived. So when she was talking about where she'd come from and how she wanted to go back someday, I knew what she was talking about, and I knew the places she was talking about, and it was good. Yeah, she was a good person. But after school, with the education and the bullying and everything, and finding it hard in college, I suffered greatly. I actually went through years of depression afterwards, which is, I mean, I've always had anxiety. I'm always a bit of an anxious boy. But the depression was a new one, not wanting to get out of bed. So anxiety is not wanting to leave the house, and depression is not wanting to get out of bed. And that sucked. That really did suck. And it got so bad that after college, I was standing in the chemist's. I was picking up an asthma inhaler. I mean, it's mild. I don't need to use one every day, but it's something I should carry with me. So I was picking up a new one of those, and I was standing in the chemist's right next to the girl from English, and I had no idea. I was so far lost in my own little world that when I went out to the car park, she was like, oh, didn't you see me standing there? And I was like, no, I didn't. Also, she's like, I had my hair cut, and it looked really good. It looked beautiful. I mean, we were all grown up. It was after college, and she looked great. But I couldn't say that. What I could say was, yes, okay, and jumped on my motorbike and went home because I was just in such a bad way. Yeah, no, she was a good person. I think I've already said that, but it goes to it doesn't hurt to say it again. So we're going to go this way. I think that way does go down into Cornwall. So anyway, yeah, college was bad, depression, one real class which you could feel safe. Those 2 years of school in Cornwall really messed me up, and the 2 years of college just went by in a haze. But it wasn't all bad, because one of the things that I had in my bedroom, much like the National Geographic in the library that prompted a love of photography, my bedroom had a whole network in it, a whole computer network. And one of the things that my dad was keen for me to do was not only play video games, but get into understanding how computers worked. So for a very early age, before Cornwall, we had a ZX Spectrum, and I was taught how to program on the ZX Spectrum. We had an Acorn Electron. We had a 386 with Windows 3.1.1 on it. These were not new bits of kit, but when we got to Cornwall, I had my own computer, an IBM compatible Xerox PR233. That was the first one. And it had a crazy motherboard. It had fast page RAM and beep beep beep. It had fast page RAM and it had SD RAM on it, and you know, it was just a crazy bit of hardware. Oh, what's this? We all stopped in the road. Well, I'm going to let the van take the lead on this because I can't see around the corner. Yeah, it was crazy. So I had that. I eventually got a Pentium 3. So I had the two computers side by side, two computer desks. Yeah, it was. Oh, there's a tractor trying to get past everyone. That's fun. So I had two computer desks. I started off with a little TCP/IP hub, which eventually turned into a full TCP/IP switch. So we started off with a serial network, literally using a serial cable to connect my computer and my brother's computer so we could play Age of Empires and transfer files using LapLink, a bit at a time. And that turned into a small 5-port network, which turned into a full-on gigabit Ethernet switch, I think. We eventually got James, who lived next door, we got his computer connected using an 802.11b wireless port. I mean, this stuff it was all old hardware that I managed to acquire and just use. There were more screens in my bedroom than Jodrell Bank. It was absolutely insane. And from having all of that hardware in the bedroom, from having to learn how to use it, from when things went bang, or from when I just opened up a motherboard, opened up a live computer and just put a voltmeter on a live motherboard. Yeah, sometimes that worked, sometimes it really didn't. And there are other stories from those times. Epoxying like a CPU. Oh, no, there's too many stories, too many things that I did with that network. But that turned into a job. See, the real twist in the tale is that I went back to that school. The school that caused depression and kind of brought out the anxiety. The school where I had to endure the bullying. The school where the education kind of failed me completely. I went back there and I worked there as a computer technician for 12 years. And it was the best thing that I could have possibly done. Not only did I get to see a lot of the teachers who had taught me and actually get to know them as human beings, and it turned out that some of them were actually really good people. The English teacher that told me to get out initially, well, he was an underwater archaeologist before becoming a teacher, and I was like, why have you never told me that? That was mental. The other things, I mean, my jobs were varied. I was in charge of disaster recovery. I was in charge of making MSIs, Microsoft installers, and shunting files out across a network. I was in charge of the financial management system and the school information management system. You need a database made? I was the database boy. I'd done A-level IT, but it sucked because, well, A-levels just kind of didn't cover all of this. But I'd learnt a lot of it because, well, Dad was keen that I learnt it. We're gonna have to get out here, past the van, I think. So 3, 2, 1, kick it. We're gonna drop this beat like an ugly baby. Whoa, hey, he was getting a bit fresh. Anyway, yeah, I have so many stories from that place. I mean, crawling in the loft space to run network cables, that was fun. We found all manner of archaeology in the ceiling, old soda cans from the 80s. There was so much stuff up there, old tools that had just been left by workmen. It was, yeah, insanity itself. So I didn't like being there as a student. The other thing that we did, with regards to bullying, is we put in safeguards, because we were, well, kind of in charge of the internet. We put in a lot of safeguards for the kids, so that they would be safe online, they would be protected online, and they wouldn't be bullied online. It's all that we could do as being technicians. I mean, we weren't in the classrooms, but we made sure the stuff that happened to us didn't happen to these kids. And mental health and well-being was definitely new things that were put in place while I was there at the same school. So yes, it was good to go back. It was good to see the teachers. Yeah. So that was school, and that's what's been going through my head through lockdown. It's like, it sucked. There was only really one person I could talk to, but in the end, it didn't suck so much. It ended up okay. So yeah, it looks like as a career, my jobs have been coming from hobbies. The National Geographics turned into a love of photography. I have many cameras, my favourite being a Pentax K-1 full frame camera. That's the big one with the big lens you may have seen in other vlogs. And from that, I ended up at the place I'm currently working as an image editor. So life got a bit dim, got a bit dull, got a bit depressing, but so far today, with the sun shining and the car being rather chilly because it's got the old aircon on, which is something, yeah, you didn't get on a motorbike. It's okay, it's good, things are looking up. So we're here, and I can get pizza, hopefully. This is the big store. I have to come a couple of towns over to go to the big store to find pizza. I probably won't get pizza in the end. I'll probably think to myself, I can't do that. Well, it won't make me fat, but it's just not that healthy to have so much salt and bread all at the same time. So what I might end up doing is getting Mediterranean vegetables if I can find them. I've got a camera there for reversing. One of the things you don't do on a motorbike is a lot of reversing. Fortunately, I always put it in butt first. Always put it in butt first so you can have a quick getaway should the cops find you, but cops aren't going to be interested in us. Not today. It really is a beautiful day. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you like this, definitely leave a little like, leave a subscribe, and I'll tell you what, I'll catch you next time.